over the last 5 years, we've spent over $12 billion on technology and AI to try and make sure that we can counter some of those threats. Within our Visa Protect suite, we've got hundreds of AI models that are running across all of our products, and we're taking that decisioning capability to help to protect different types of events for our customers.
Hello everyone and welcome to Visa Spotlight. I'm Walter Lironi, Head of Visa Value Added Services for CEMEA. Today we are talking about one of the most important challenges that we are facing together with our partners and clients: frauds. Frauds are evolving quickly. They are moving in different steps in the value chain. They are covering much more identity thefts. They are becoming much more AI driven. We see more and more deep fakes. We see more and more social engineering. It's an area where we need collectively to stay ahead of the game. Today we're going to tell you how we can support you in this journey. And the great news is that I'm not alone. I'm here with James Mirfin, our Global Head of Risk and Identity Solution. Thank you, James, for joining us.
Thanks, Walter. It's great to be here.
Let me start with the first question, James. Let's talk about the shifting fraud landscape. There is a lot happening, right? There is artificial intelligence playing a big role. There is a shift from the transaction into the identity space. There is a lot that is new for our clients. How do you see this landscape evolution?
Yeah, I think we're at a pivotal moment when it comes to the evolution of fraud. We're moving from an environment where we were thinking about stolen credentials or compromised credentials. Now, as you say, it's about identity, it's about behavior, it's about speed. The criminals and the bad actors have got their hands on technology. You talked about AI. They've got access to tools which organizations are just starting to embrace, and they're using those at scale. So we're seeing criminals using artificial intelligence. They're using new tech or new tools and old techniques. We're seeing that impacting not just card payments, but also things like faster payments and real-time payments. We talk about faster payments and faster fraud. We're certainly seeing that play out because of the sophistication of the way that the criminals are using this and that evolution of fraud. For us at Visa, we're starting to take the expertise that we've developed on our network, the ability to score transactions in microseconds and evaluate transactions, and we're now applying that to other networks and helping to protect those transactions as well. So yeah, we're really at a turning point. It's getting very challenging to try and fight this fraud given the tools that the criminals have at their disposal. What
you just shared is pretty scary actually, and we see this in numbers in CEMEA. I was looking at the card not present frauds. They increased by 26% in the last year. Deepfake content detection increased 10 times in 1 year. And 98% of cyber attacks now involve social engineering. How do you see this? What is your perspective of this evolving landscape?
I think it's what you said, it's that evolution, the shift in techniques from impersonation or fairly basic scams is changing really quickly. You talked about deepfakes. We're seeing deepfakes. We're seeing things like mobile phone number spoofing. We're seeing voice cloning. So all of these things that are being used in very sophisticated ways to dupe consumers to make payments. So there's definitely a pronounced shift in how that's happening. As it relates to customers and what they need to do, it means that they need a multi-layered way to protect themselves. It's not just about protecting the transaction, because by the time the payment happens, that's almost too late. It's about how do you protect things like token provisioning, which obviously is around identity and making sure that it's the right consumer that's provisioning that token. So we're certainly helping our customers to think about all the different types of risks that they're facing, making sure they've got that multi-layered solution, and we're powering a lot of those. There's also a piece around education. Podcasts like this are a great opportunity to just share more and raise the awareness. We know that consumers can often get duped, again, because of the technology that's being used by the criminals. So we do a lot of activity around the holiday period to just raise awareness, because unfortunately the techniques are so sophisticated that consumers can easily fall victim if they're not thinking about it. One of the things that I often say is if it seems too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. So I think there's an opportunity which we're trying to take advantage of, just to raise that level of awareness as well.
Awareness is definitely one of the things we need to raise in the region, and especially in a world where artificial intelligence is playing a much bigger role. Right? So James, you talked about how fraud is evolving and it's becoming much more identity-driven and AI-enabled. So what does it mean for us? What does it mean for Visa, but what does it mean for our partners? So what should we be doing together to stay ahead of the game?
Yeah. At Visa, we're investing a huge amount of money to try and tackle this evolving types of fraud. Over the last 5 years, we've spent over $12 billion on technology and AI to try and make sure that we can counter some of those threats. Within our Visa Protect suite, we've got hundreds of AI models that are running across all of our products, and we're taking that decisioning capability to help to protect different types of events for our customers. So if you think about token provisioning with Visa Provisioning Intelligence, if you think about risk-based authentication with Visa Consumer Authentication Service, you think about authorization with Visa Advanced Authorization or Deep Authorization, where we're using new AI techniques to try and identify card-not-present fraud. And then even if you think about what we're doing away from the Visa network and protecting the payments ecosystem with Visa Protect for account to account, where we're taking that expertise that we've developed in scoring payment transactions on the Visa network, and we're now applying that to real-time money movement. So we're really trying to secure the ecosystem and doing that in partnership with our clients and helping them to tackle all these different types of risks that they're facing in their businesses.
Wow, multiple investment around different use cases. This is impressive. I think we also made some bold movement in this space going beyond internal solution, right? We made an acquisition. We acquired Featurespace. And what do we think Featurespace will add into a pretty well-functioning set of capability that was already there?
Yeah. Fraud's a bit like an arms race. It's a battle to stay ahead, and Featurespace is a great example of where we're making a substantial investment to try and help our customers to stay ahead of the criminals and of the fraudsters. If you think about what Visa does really well, we've obviously got that network intelligence. We see hundreds of billions of transactions across the Visa network, and we've built great models and scores and AI capabilities to analyze those. But they go very broad, and we see patterns across the network. Featurespace is a very powerful solution for customers where it takes a view of the customer profile and looks at the individual and is able to score that and model it. So if you think about it, we get the breadth of what Visa offers with the depth of what Featurespace offers, and you put those two things together, there's really nothing more powerful in not just stopping fraud, but also identifying good transactions, because the worst thing that can happen is you have a good customer trying to make a good payment and it gets stopped inadvertently. So the combination of Featurespace and Visa, the scale, the breadth, and then the depth that you get with those customer solutions that Featurespace has, we're really excited about. And we're already seeing great results. We've got clients that are using Featurespace and Visa, and they're getting unparalleled results in terms of stopping fraud and also approving good transactions.
Yeah. Thank you, James. You covered our internal development, how we make our solution better. You covered the Featurespace acquisition. Can you go a little bit deeper in explaining how these two set of capabilities can really work together? How does 1 + 1 = 3?
I think it's 1 + 1 = about 10. I think they're very, very complementary. So again, if you think about what Visa does so well, it's those network models, it's those scaled scores that we have to protect provisioning or authentication or authorization. Featurespace's solution gives you, as a customer, it really helps you get a 360-degree view of your customer. And that's really important when you think about fraud. Fraudsters like nothing more than siloed systems and the idea that you might use lots of disparate platforms, which is what a lot of banks have done for a long time. Featurespace really gives you the option to, or opportunity to look at all types of payments that your customers are making, whether those are card payments, whether those are ACH payments, real-time account transactions, it doesn't matter. It can also be used for things like AML, so transaction monitoring. So being able to use the same platform that you use for fraud to identify suspicious transactions for money laundering, potentially flag those for review or for SAR filing. So that 360 view of your customer we think is so important. It's not something that historically we've been able to offer as Visa, and it's complementary to what we have. So you can still use things like Visa Risk Manager for real-time transaction decisioning. You can still use the VAA score and the other things that you've been using, but these fit together in a very, very complementary way.
Wow, this is fantastic. I really see how these two capabilities complement each other. Let's get into something even more practical now. You know, our client sees the two sets of capabilities. Do you have any consideration for them on how to practically integrate those capabilities? Should they treat deployment of those capabilities? Any data suggestion? from a compliance perspective, do you have any specific suggestion for our client?
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about AI and we've talked a lot in this conversation about technology. The piece that we haven't really talked about is human expertise, and I think that's an area where Visa can really help our customers. This is a really complex problem to solve. It's not just about stopping fraud. That's easy. You stop all the transactions. So I think we can help our customers, whether that's through our advisory teams or whether that's through our managed risk colleagues that can come in and actually work with customers, understand what they want to do, because not all customers are the same. Not all customers have got the same portfolio, but we can help look at what your portfolio looks like, look at your objectives, and then guide you as to which solutions can help to protect you. I think the one thing I would say is don't just think about Visa helping you with your Visa portfolio. We can help you across all types of payments. And I go back to the fact that we're investing to protect the payments ecosystem more broadly. But we've got the human expertise to help clients get the best out of these solutions.
And that's, I think, what is really needed in our region. And thinking about CEMEA, it's such a diverse region. There are so many country-specific requirements. Do you have any practical suggestions for our clients on how to deploy those capabilities in their own specific market?
Yeah, I think CEMEA is probably one of the most diverse and potentially complex regions for us as we think about these solutions. Obviously, you've got an active regulatory environment. You've got things around needing to have data reside on shore. So we're thinking about that. We can support clients whether they want to have a deployed solution or something that's cloud hosted. We've got that flexibility in the capabilities that we have, and that clients should talk to their local Visa colleagues and contacts who can help advise them on what's the best solution for them given what they're dealing with in their local market.
Do you have any suggestion for our clients? How can they really get the most out of our capabilities on the fraud space?
Yeah, I think, again, we've talked about AI and technology. It's easy to talk about those, but a lot of getting the best out of it is around the human expertise that can help you with that. We've obviously got teams that can help clients to implement the solutions, that can actually work with them to understand what their strategies are and what they're trying to accomplish, whether it's across their whole book of business or if it's across different portfolios. We've obviously got our advisory teams, we've got our client services organization to support the implementations, and then we've got managed risk analysts that can actually work with clients once they've implemented to optimize the solutions as well, because fraud's a moving target. It doesn't stay still. The worst thing you can do is set and forget. You need to stay on top of what's happening in the performance, and so we won't leave clients out there on their own. We've got the teams that can support them to make sure they get the best value out of the solutions that they've chosen to use.
And James, you mentioned all the great capability of Featurespace. Do you have any example of what is the type of impact we can achieve by deploying Featurespace capability in one of our clients?
Yeah, we've got many examples. One of the ones that I think is most powerful was a client, First Tech Credit Union in the US. They saw over a 2-year period after they implemented Featurespace, they saw an 84% reduction in fraud losses. They saw a 35% reduction in fraud alerts, and they saw a 15% reduction in false positives as well. So, and those are just some of the stats, just very, very powerful examples of how Featurespace can help to stop more fraud, but also stop the false positives and the alerts, which consume so much bandwidth from an operational perspective.
Fantastic. James, thank you so much for this great conversation. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your global perspective. Thank you for giving us concrete suggestions on how to be always ahead of the game on frauds in our region. And for all our clients that are interested in understanding better how we can make it happen together, just let us know. We are very, very interested in making the payment ecosystem in CEMEA as secure as possible. Thank you, everybody.